On Election Day, tattoo artist Bob Holmes of Seabrook, New Hampshire, did something he had never done before in his 48 years. He voted.
Walked in there, it was very awkward. I didn't know where to go, what to do, who to talk to. I obviously looked lost because somebody came over and talked to me and told me what line to get into, and went into the behind the curtain and voted, and took a picture on my phone and posted it on Facebook that I voted for Donald Trump. How's it going?
So far, so good.
Holmes earned some notoriety during the campaign by offering free tattoos of Trump.
Trump wins 2016.
Trump wins 2016.
So on election eve, he stayed up all night watching.
This is us. This is our country. It's real.
How do we explain how this is possible?
I don't know that he really has a plan.
I love the fact that the media and the anchors were freaking out and just couldn't take it.
Holmes says he had switched on Fox News at 2:40 in the morning when we made the call.
Donald Trump will be the 45th president of the United States.
I don't think I've been that excited since I was probably 12 years old and I got up for Christmas. That literally was the feeling that I had.
Bob Holmes was one of millions of Americans who contributed to a shockwave that is still rattling the country coast to coast. So when Donald Trump emerged from his headquarters to give his victory speech, it seemed like the world had changed.
Now it's time for America to bind the wounds of division. We have to get together.
After a notably divisive campaign, he spoke words of unification.
For those who have chosen not to support me in the past, of which there were a few people, I'm reaching out to you for your guidance and your help so that we can work together and unify our great country.
The next day, President-elect Trump met with President Obama at the White House. That meeting seemed to signal a more cordial tone as well.
This was a meeting that was going to last for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. The meeting lasted for almost an hour and a half, and it could have, as far as I'm concerned, it could have gone on for a lot longer.
I don't think he is ideological. I think ultimately he's pragmatic. That can serve him well, as long as he's got good people around him and he has a clear sense of direction.
I very much look forward to dealing with the president in the future, including counsel.
But half of the country was unhappy with the outcome of the election. Quite a few celebrities, some of whom had said they'd leave the country if Trump won, appeared shaken.
It's easy to say, throw in the towel on that we're going to leave, or I'm going to move to Spain, because I want to move to Spain. I really, really want to move to Spain right now.
Students across the U.S. staged mass walkouts, and thousands took to the streets to show they still opposed Trump, no matter the election results. These marches sometimes devolved into violence.
Not my president!
Even as some tried to prevent it, President-elect Trump was preparing to move into the White House by picking his team. There was some controversy when Governor Chris Christie was replaced by Vice President-elect Mike Pence to head the transition. Kellyanne Conway, Trump's campaign manager, now turned senior advisor to the transition, thinks the press has made too much of this.
So many of the stories that have been artificially generated about transition and chaos remind me of the pre-election coverage, which was, I have a conclusion, now I'll search for the evidence.
In a nod to the GOP establishment, one of Trump's first decisions was to name RNC chairman Reince Priebus as his chief of staff. But he stirred up controversy again when he named Steve Bannon, who helped manage his campaign, as his senior counselor and White House chief strategist.
By placing a champion of white supremacists a step away from the Oval Office, what message does Trump send to the young girl who woke up Wednesday morning in Rhode Island afraid to be a woman of color in America?
This is the last refuge of the scoundrels, calling people racist.
Democratic strategist Pat Caddell has known Steve Bannon for years.
Steve Bannon is neither racist. He believes that the United States must put its interests first rather than being globalist first. And that is not a xenophobic attitude. His sin is that he's anti-establishment.
President Bush's senior advisor, Karl Rove, says he has a more fundamental concern about the arrangement between Priebus, the GOP insider, and Bannon, the controversial outsider.
Now we have two co-equal people running the West Wing, which means that they better be very close, have a very collaborative style. When you're in the White House, you're drinking from a fire hose 24 hours a day. And you need to have processes in place that help the president get all the information he needs for a considered decision. And that requires a well-operating West Wing, not one that's at war with itself.
Since then, President-elect Trump has kept busy meeting with prospects, and he's chosen several names for prominent slots. Senator Jeff Sessions of Alabama for Attorney General. There is controversy. 30 years ago, he was denied a federal judgeship because of alleged racist statements. Sessions denied the allegations. Meanwhile, in another sign of reaching out to his rivals, Trump met with former governor and former GOP nominee Mitt Romney, though the two have exchanged harsh words this election cycle.
Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud.
Mitt is a failed candidate. He failed. He failed horribly.
The process of picking his team is continuing, but no matter who is chosen, Trump's supporters can't wait for their man to take over.
Drain the swamp! Drain the swamp!
There was high hope that as an outsider, he'd keep his promises to build a wall, to fight corruption, and to repeal Obamacare.
I expect him to follow through on, I'd like at least 85% of what he said. I don't know, the other 15% I think is always somewhat negotiable in anything.
I kept saying, this election year is not about ideology, it's about insurgency.
Ours was not a campaign, but rather an incredible and great movement made up of millions of hardworking men and women who love their country and want a better, brighter future for themselves and for their family.
While Donald Trump is busy preparing for the biggest job in the world, it's hard to believe that a year and a half ago, he was a blip on the political radar. Some people called him a joke who would amuse us until the serious contenders took over. How that joke turned around, next. How do you run for president when the field is crowded and you've never held office before? First, you have to get noticed, something Donald Trump was an expert at.
My father, Donald J. Trump.
It was a setting that may have seemed more appropriate for a Vegas act than a president to be, but on June 16th, 2015, in Trump Tower, Donald Trump had something very important to say to America.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
The 69-year-old billionaire real estate mogul had never held office, but now he was going for all the marbles. Beyond the announcement, one section of his speech got almost all the attention.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
This was not how candidates normally spoke. Pundits announced his campaign dead on arrival.
How should Republicans handle Donald Trump?
Ignore him. He's not going to win the Republican nomination.
I really don't think that it's what the Republican Party needs.
But Trump kept it up, banging the immigration drum.
I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. Mark my words.
The line became fodder for countless punchlines.
Now, how are you going to deal with immigration?
Build a giant wall.
Okay, what about the economy?
Build a giant wall.
Yet his tough talk struck a chord.
Nobody builds walls better than me, believe me.
By mid-July, Trump shot to the top of a crowded Republican field. His freewheeling style got the lion's share of media attention. For instance, no one makes fun of a war hero except Donald Trump, here talking about John McCain.
He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. He's a war hero. 5.5 years. He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Once again, the pundits counted him out.
He needs to apologize, and it remains to be seen if he's got sense enough to do that.
He's not going to be a viable candidate. You can't say the kinds of things you can over a period of time without crashing and burning.
Instead, his polling improved.
Everyone else, bing.
What would make other candidates radioactive only seemed to make him stronger. There was the comment he made in Rolling Stone magazine about Carly Fiorina. He said, quote, "Look at that face. Would anyone vote for that?" But Trump's position atop the polls remained firm. Though there were a few twists and turns ahead, by late May, Trump had secured his party's nomination.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. I am your voice.
And after the Republican National Convention in late July, he had pulled even with Hillary Clinton in the polls. But if anyone thought he'd moderate his tone for the general election, they were mistaken.
Hillary Rotten Clinton. Crooked Hillary Clinton.
Indeed, the brash billionaire was ready for more trash talk, and not just about his opponent.
Here, you can have it. Anybody want?
In his first debate with Secretary Clinton, he seemed to go out of his way to attack Rosie O'Donnell.
Rosie O'Donnell, I said very tough things to her, and I think everybody would agree that she deserves it, and nobody feels sorry for her.
And after Secretary Clinton mentioned her name,
he called this woman Miss Piggy.
He would soon take on former Miss Universe, Alicia Machado.
She gained a massive amount of weight, and it was a real problem.
Then in early October, comments captured on tape by a hot mic in 2005 were released. In the tape, Trump shared lewd comments with Access Hollywood host Billy Bush.
When you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the you can do anything.
After that, 11 women spoke out, claiming to have been sexually harassed by Donald Trump.
The events never happened. Never.
With about 1 month to go before Election Day, Trump looked like he was in deep trouble.
What a campaign it's been.
The long, winding road to the White House ends here.
The polls are set to close.
In the early hours, the race is close, certainly closer than predicted by those who thought Secretary Clinton was a shoo-in. The feeling was Trump would have to take the swing states of Florida, North Carolina, and Ohio just to have a chance. At 10:30,
a victory for Donald Trump in Ohio can be called by the Fox News decision desk at this point.
At 10:45, North Carolina goes to Trump.
On Monday morning, they had a much bigger lead in absentee and early voting. There were 122,000 more Republicans who turned out and voted early or voted absentee, and 22,000 fewer Democrats who voted early or absentee compared to 4 years ago. So on Monday morning, I said, looked at those numbers and said, he's going to take North Carolina unless Election Day is considerably different than Election days have tended to be.
Then around 11 p.m.,
Donald Trump will win the state of Florida, according to the Fox News decision desk.
Now it was anyone's game.
Are you starting to feel that Hillary Clinton might lose this thing?
I'm nervous.
11:30, Trump wins Wisconsin. Then at 2:41, when he won another Rust Belt state, the biggest, Pennsylvania, it put him over the top.
This means that Donald Trump will be the 45th president of the United States, winning the most unreal, surreal election we have ever seen.
Election night was absolutely euphoric here in this room. It wasn't until he saw the 270 number be surpassed that he knew it was real. But it also was a complete vindication of the way he ran his campaign on his terms, with his own style and with his own message.
Donald Trump fought a campaign not just against candidates, but against conventional wisdom, and he won. The pundits didn't think he could do it, but the people did. He'd obviously struck a nerve. We'll look at that when we return. Donald Trump's success, it's safe to say, came as a surprise to the political and media class. This is partly because he seized upon issues that mattered deeply to a lot of Americans who'd felt long ignored. One such issue, trade. From the start of his campaign, Donald Trump's economic populism made him a favorite among white working-class voters.
The best way to stay competitive and protect the business for long term is to move production from our facility in Indianapolis to Monterrey, Mexico.
This video shows the moment when 1,400 workers at Carrier Air Conditioning were told their jobs will be shipped from Indianapolis to Mexico in 2017.
We're moving. We're shutting down. We're moving to Monterrey, Mexico. Starting, and it's like, wow, really?
Mark Weddle, a Carrier employee for nearly a quarter century, was there when management made that announcement.
I want to be clear, this is strictly a business decision.
Some people were hollering, some people were, you know, raising some cane.
You heard one guy said, F you.
Yeah, Dave Hartsock was a Carrier employee of 13 years.
And that one guy really said it all for everybody.
I looked up and I heard somebody crying. I looked up and my friend Cheryl, I mean, she's crying, and it's like, it just devastated her.
I was just, you know, basically numb. I just didn't know what the hell to think.
Just days later, at a Republican debate, Donald Trump was the only candidate to speak about the mass layoff.
All of these 1,400 people that are being laid off, they're laid off. They were crying. It was a very sad situation.
He explained what he would do to Carrier if he was elected president.
I am going to get consensus from Congress, and we're going to tax you when those air conditioners come. So stay where you are or build in the United States.
That sort of talk directly contradicted decades of Republican thinking on free trade.
I did catch that on the news, that he brought up Carrier. I thought, hell yeah, about time somebody say something.
Though Mark Weddle is a Democrat and a union member, this time he decided to support Trump.
I believe the entire political system is going to be different from now on. It needs to be changed. You know, nothing gets done. Nothing happens that benefits the American people. It's benefiting somebody else.
If we let everybody go to Mexico, we're not going to have any jobs for our grandchildren.
I think everybody's just mad, and they got fed up with the government letting things like this happen.
I appreciate any candidate that's going to do more to keep jobs in America.
I hope it can save my job and everybody else's job that's in the same situation. This is not the first factory that's closed down.
Another example is Niagara Ceramics in Buffalo, New York, which closed in 2013.
It was just impossible for us to compete with the foreign market.
Joe Bronco was a vice president.
Very difficult for us to manufacture a product in the USA at dollars per piece more than you could buy it for landed at a port on either coast.
Today, the old warehouse feels almost haunted, not by ghosts, but by memories of when the factory employed more than 400 skilled workers.
We held on as long as we could, and we just couldn't do it.
Bronco was down, but not out. He's opened a new ceramics facility in Rochester, New York, called North Star Ceramics. Much smaller, but growing.
Donald Trump made it very clear that we've made some bad trade deals, and they're affecting businesses like me today, and we are definitely not working on a level playing field.
Joe felt so strongly about it, he and his family worked to get Trump elected.
The fact that Donald Trump is a businessman is playing a huge factor in my support of him. I mean, he understands what it's like to be where I am, in a much larger scale.
Before he entered politics, New York Congressman Chris Collins was personally involved in securing funding that kept Niagara Ceramics afloat for several years. And then he became the first congressman to support Trump. Today, he is Trump's congressional liaison during the transition.
Were you ever nervous jumping on the Trump train so early?
I was never nervous. It was an easy decision for me to make coming from Western New York, which has been devastated by bad trade deals.
When it is President Trump, how do you think he will help jobs come back to upstate New York?
We're going to have to negotiate trade deals, and there may well be some tariff type of barriers to level the playing field. It's got to be fair trade.
When I'm president, if a company wants to fire their workers and leave for Mexico or other countries, then we will charge them a 35% tax when they want to ship their products back into the United States.
I don't believe that President Ford is now going to follow through and move those small cars to Mexico. I think that's a decision he's going to reverse.
When you start talking tariffs, you've heard the critics that say those jobs are gone for good. You don't buy it.
Not everyone is going to be, in the STEM world, a scientist, an engineer, a physician. Those are great jobs, but let's just be honest with ourselves. So where are the good jobs? And it's not in the lower paid service industries. It's making stuff, what we used to do. And we've got to level the playing field.
The frustrations and even anger of the working class played a central role in the 2016 election. But how is it that a celebrity billionaire came to be their voice? That's next. Most presidential biographies describe years of rising through the ranks before achieving the top job. That will not be the case with Donald Trump. Nevertheless, to those who think his candidacy came out of nowhere, there's actually a lot of history leading up to it. In fact, a lifetime's worth. Donald John Trump, son of Fred and Mary Trump, was born June 14, 1946, in Queens, New York. Fred was a real estate developer, specializing in middle-income apartments. Young Donald grew up around building sites and construction workers. But he had a rebellious streak, and Fred was a no-nonsense father. He sent his son to a military school, the New York Military Academy.
My father raves about military school. He often says it's the best thing that ever happened to him. It gave him a lot of discipline.
I think that's Donald there. See, he's the biggest guy.
Ted Levine went to military school with Trump. They became friends, perhaps the first time Trump connected with one of the little people.
He did protect me a lot from bullies. When he said, don't go near Levine, they didn't go near Levine.
Even back then, the young Trump was a mighty competitor.
He was a great athlete. Anything he wanted to do, he could be the first. He far exceeded what the rest of the group was like as far as his talent.
Trump followed his father into real estate. In 1971, he was given full control of the family company, which he renamed the Trump Organization. But Trump wasn't your average real estate developer. He had a taste for the spotlight and was regularly seen on the town with a beautiful woman on his arm. In 1977, he married Ivana Zelnikova, a fashion model from Czechoslovakia. Together, they became an inescapable part of the Manhattan scene. In 1983, Trump opened up his flagship building on Fifth Avenue, Trump Tower. In 1987, he published his bestseller, The Art of the Deal. Trump had become a national figure. You never knew where he'd show up next. Way back then, Mike Dunbar, a GOP activist from New Hampshire, saw political promise in the billionaire. Dunbar liked the idea of a businessman who could get things done.
And so that's why I started a Draft Trump campaign.
And so in October 1987, at Yokin's restaurant in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, as people waved Trump for president signs, Donald Trump made his first campaign speech. Speaking without notes, he hit on some of the same economic themes that propelled him to the White House.
The message in 1987 didn't change, just the players. Back then it was Japan and Saudi Arabia. Today it's China and Mexico. We're still getting our lunch eaten by our trading partners, and the people who are hurting are people like me, people who work for a living. We're the ones who are feeling it. So Trump appeals to us.
After the speech, they left the restaurant and moved Trump to a nearby press conference.
and I had to get him from the speaker's podium to a side door, which was a pretty good distance. And as we moved along, he kept stopping, shaking hands with the waitstaff, with the cops, and with the firemen who were there. He ignored all the other people wearing the suits and everything else, but it was the common man that attracted Donald Trump and that he reached out to. And I think that's what's happening today. He's still reaching out to us, not to the guys in the suits.
He didn't run back then, but the seed had been planted. In the 90s, his business ventures had some ups and downs, and so did his love life.
We have a great relationship. We've always had a great relationship, and it's fine.
He divorced Ivana in 1991. He then married actress Marla Maples in 1993.
Well, I think it was just a relationship that was happening, and it just feels real good.
And divorced her in 1999. In 2004, his profile rose as never before when he became the star of NBC's hit show, The Apprentice.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
You know what, Summer? You're fired.
And he married his present-day wife, Slovenian model Melania Naus, in 2005. But Trump never stopped thinking about politics, and as he entered his 60s, if he was serious about a run, he could no longer play the waiting game. He asked Kellyanne Conway, president and CEO of the polling company, to do some research to see where he would stand in the 2012 race.
What was missing from the field for many Republican voters in 2011 was somebody who was not a typical politician, somebody who would be an outsider to the system in Washington, but also somebody who was not completely unfamiliar to them.
Years later, of course, Conway herself would play a major role in Trump's campaign. But in 2011, Trump wasn't yet ready to throw his hat in the ring. Instead, he endorsed Republican candidate Mitt Romney, another businessman who sold himself as someone who could get things done. But when Romney lost, it was now or never for Trump. He started to put together a staff. He also started connecting with conservative media outlets and organizations and gave speeches at places like CPAC.
I'm not doing this for fun. I'm doing it because we have to take our country back.
One person he met with in early 2015, Newt Gingrich.
He asked very probing, intelligent questions about, what does it take physically and how do you schedule it and how do you balance yourself? What would it cost from January of 2015 through South Carolina? I said probably between 70 and 80 million, and he thought for a minute and he said a yacht. So this would be more interesting than a yacht. So I sort of thought at that point he's going.
By the time Trump announced his run, he was ready. And if the rest of the candidates were not ready for him, the public was. Donald Trump has described his campaign as a movement, and that movement has been collecting some unlikely voices. We'll talk to some of them when we return. To win the election, Donald Trump brought a lot of new voters to his party. And as you're about to see, many of them were filled with surprises. Remember Bob Holmes, the New Hampshire tattoo artist? The one who just voted for the first time?
Everybody's trying to be politically correct, that nobody says anything. Because you don't want to step on toes, or you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, or you don't want to be called a racist or whatever. And I think that he's saying exactly what everybody wants to say.
I'm the one that brought all the action, right?
The Seabrook, New Hampshire tattoo artist was offering free Trump tattoos when we first met him earlier this year. Business was brisk. And varied between Make America Great Again and the actual Trump head.
Yeah, we've done his face, and all the rest are either, We the People tattoos with Let's Make America Great Again.
When you're putting on the tattoo and doing it, do you talk issues like what drives these people to do it?
They're just really supportive, and they want to feel like America's great again. They want to feel like they're going to be secure, that they're not going to have to worry about things happening to their kids or them. So they love the fact that Donald Trump says what he says and owns it.
One of those on the receiving end was Max Crowley, a Trump fan who came in from Massachusetts to get his free tattoo.
I got a Trump tattoo on the back of my calf, and it's his portrait.
I mean, that's kind of a permanent deal.
It is.
You're in.
I'm in. I'm in 100%. There's no going back on that now. It's there forever.
Let's see it.
You want to see it?
And there he is. How about that?
The Donald.
The Donald.
To Crowley, the billionaire businessman represents hope for the working man.
As a construction worker and a carpenter, work has not been great. For the past couple of years, it's been hard, you know, especially with a family supporting them. And as a business class kind of guy, you know, he promises a lot of good things for the future, and the future is everything to me and my family.
So now you can look at your leg and get inspired.
That's it. Absolutely correct. I'm behind Donald Trump 100%, and now Donald Trump is behind me.
Is this a voter revolt, you think?
I think it's a revolt against the politicians that are running the country now and doing such a bang-up job. I think it's time, and everybody else thinks it's time, to change it.
Holmes wasn't alone in finding a new political direction. Fox News reporting found itself in the middle of a clash over the future of the Republican Party at the Virginia GOP convention.
Well, Mr. Trump has been in 5 different parties in the last 10 different years. He's given over $700,000 to the Democrats. We're not exactly sure.
I used to be a Democrat for 30 years, and that man convinced me to be a Republican. Who gives a if he changed over time? What? So you don't want my vote? I'm a Republican now, and I want the Republican Party? So you're saying if you grew up as a Republican, then you're better than me as a Democrat?
I'm not yelling at you.
That Trump supporter was Cheryl Ann Kraft, a nurse who works for the Department of Defense in Norfolk.
I was a 30-year Democrat. The fact that somebody says that Mr. Trump, because his opinions and his positions have changed over the years, is not a valid Republican conservative that could run for the office is absolutely wrong.
Another person transformed by the Trump campaign was Chris Cox. Cox makes his living by creating chainsaw sculpture.
As long as I've got a couple logs and a chainsaw, I can turn it into something that will typically put some gas in my truck and a pillow under my head.
As founder of Bikers for Trump, he told us Trump is just what the doctor ordered.
Donald Trump's going to bring some dignity back to our country. He's going to give us a sense of direction.
Need America back.
We want our country back, and we're going to get it back. This is a movement, and it's happening right now. The establishment's coming on board. We'll see who holds out. The ones that are there, they better fall in line. They better start making some things happen, and they better start representing the people that put them there.
We caught up with Cox in D.C. after the election.
The reaction of the left, it just exemplified our need for Donald Trump. They need to get over it because we won. And we're going to be very good stewards of this leadership. And Donald Trump's going to change the direction of this country. And the Democrats, they have no one to blame but themselves. If they wonder how we got to Donald Trump, ask Barack Obama and his policies.
I'm not a wilting flower. I am first a conservative, I'm a mother, I'm a educated person, I'm an attorney, and oh yeah, I'm a woman too.
Former federal prosecutor Tamara Neo from Southern Virginia told us that for her at least, the reports of Trump mistreatment of women were outweighed by other concerns.
He has the courage and the fortitude, obviously, to withstand all the blowback from saying what he's saying about Muslim immigration and the difficulties that lie there, building a wall and illegal immigration, and just one issue after the next after the next. He's willing to say what, frankly, I think most of us were thinking, and he can take the blowback from it.
We need someone to take a sledgehammer to this bull. There is no other way around it.
Cody Knotts is a Republican from rural Pennsylvania who directs low-budget horror films. He told us he considers himself a Reagan man, but also says Donald Trump is the only candidate he trusts to take action on the economy.
None of them want to change trade policy. They all want to sell out the average working man so their buddies can make more money. Is he the best messenger? No, but he's the only messenger we got.
In voting for Trump, Cody joined a wave in Pennsylvania that saw many districts that voted heavily for President Obama in 2012, surprisingly, going to Trump this time around.
When I found out Donald Trump had won, I started crying. Finally, somebody gave a damn that my dad lost his job. Somebody cared. Now, he might be a charlatan, he might be all those things, but he gave a damn. The Clintons and them put past these trade deals, and I knew what they did. If he screws up the whole presidency, for me, it was worth it. At a core level, it was voting for my dad.
As Shakespeare wrote, what's past is prologue. So far, we've been looking at what led us up to this historic moment. When we return, we'll discuss what this past may be prologue to. In the 1972 film The Candidate, where Robert Redford's character runs an underdog Senate campaign, the last line he says after winning the election is, "What do we do now?" While the film is an often cynical take on American politics, this is nevertheless a question that must have gone through the mind of many a politician. After getting caught up in the hurly-burly of a campaign, you suddenly find you're no longer running and now are expected to lead. It's likely many in the Trump circle must be asking that same question. What do we do now? And certainly, even more Americans are asking, what will he do next?
And yes, we will build a great wall.
Of all the promises candidate Donald Trump made, the one that got the most attention was the wall. Will he be able to build it? Kellyanne Conway has little doubt.
He will build the wall. Mexico will pay for it. Immigration has always been what's fair to the illegal immigrant. And it's Donald Trump, as candidate and as president, has promised to also say, hey, what's fair to the American worker? He is going to make good on all of these promises.
Karl Rove believes the people may allow a little give.
As I travel, people say I'm for Trump, and we get talking about the issues. I'd say, do you really think you'll be able to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it? Every person I ran across said, oh, no. But you know what? He'll secure our borders.
This is for everybody.
He will definitely see defiance when it comes to deporting illegal immigrants. Mayors of major American cities vow they will remain sanctuary cities.
To be clear about what Chicago is, it always will be a sanctuary city.
And he may find resistance even within his own party.
You're not on the same page on immigration, at least on the campaign trail.
I don't really agree with that. We are on the same page on securing the border. And that border security first is what what President-elect Trump is talking about, and that's something we all totally agree with.
On the ground, en el suelo.
And the deportation force.
Well, I think right now we want to secure the border, and that is really the first priority.
As for repealing and replacing Obamacare, we're told that is still on track, while Trump has talked about keeping two elements of Obamacare, letting kids stay on their parents' plan until they're 26, and making sure people with pre-existing conditions are still covered.
It happens to be one of the strongest assets.
You're going to keep that. Obama's legacy, the main thing is, of course, Obamacare. And he's already started to backtrack on that.
Thomas Frank is the author of Listen Liberal.
If you look at Obamacare, there are certain aspects of it that are massively popular, and to undo them would be to kill your own political future. I think what he'll do is he'll fiddle around with it and call it Trump Care, you know. He'll adjust it in this way and that.
No, he will make good on his promises. The fact that there's about 33,000 pages in the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, and I'm sure you can find one or two good things in 33,000 pages. I mean, even a stop clock tells the right time twice a day. Having said that, he's made very clear what his replacement plan is.
Tell us what you hope to accomplish.
Trump also has big plans for infrastructure spending, as outlined in his victory speech.
We are going to fix our inner cities and rebuild our highways, bridges, tunnels, airports, schools, hospitals. We're going to rebuild our infrastructure, and we will put millions of our people to work as we rebuild it.
I think this is going to be a battle. He's got two battles there. One is going to be a battle with the Democrats because, look, they may not consider whatever he wants to spend sufficient. And second of all, he's going to have a battle with Republicans who spent the last 8 years belittling the stimulus bill.
Then there's his promise to drain the swamp of Washington.
When he talks about draining the swamp and reducing the size of federal government, eliminating the regulations that have choked off our economy, and this obnoxious revolving door of individuals making millions of dollars based on contacts. There is no question that's all going to happen.
I can understand why many of the lobbyists and consultants in Washington, D.C. are just incredibly nervous that their gravy train is going to be busted off the wheels and the engine ripped out with him as president, because it has to stop.
The joke I used to say to folks when I came here 4 years ago and bought a condominium, I said, if I do my job, I'm going to lose a lot of money on that condominium because there's going to be a surplus of places to rent and own as we do drain the swamp and reduce the number of federal employees. I'm quite happy to lose money on that investment.
He's made other promises, of course: renegotiate trade deals, strengthen the U.S. military, increase educational opportunities. In general, though, make America great again.
I think they elected him because they said Barack Obama is doing stuff to our country that we totally disagree with, and this guy's going to be a strong leader who'll secure our borders, make America's military strong again.
Do you have a monitor I could look at just for a second? Because these interviews are turning out to be very big. You know, your last. Can you lift it? Can you lift it so I can see it? Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, let me just see. Oh, that's good. That's better.
Good, right?
That's better than I actually look. Ooh, they're good. That's
special,
better than I look.
Look at my special Trump lighting.
I like it. Usually it's worse though. That's better than I look. Okay, good.
What? Oh, medic. Oh, go ahead. Take that. That's more important than all of this. Go ahead. A medic. Hopefully they're okay. Are they okay? They're okay? Oh, she just fainted. You know what? That means she was excited. That's okay. Make sure she's good. Those are my best fans. The ones that faint, I love the most. That's fine. Okay, everything good over there? Okay, take your time. Take your time.
Lenders to your company lost over $1 billion and more than 1,100 people.
First of all, these lenders aren't babies. These are total killers. These are not the nice, sweet little people that you think, okay? You know, I mean, you're living in a world of the make-believe, Chris. You want to know the truth.
Here, and why don't you apologize for her?
No, I won't
right
do that
now.
because I said nothing wrong, but I do hear she's a lovely woman.
Absolutely. So that's just so you understand. You know what that is? That's Jeb's special interest in lobbyists talking. We've spent, I only tell the truth, lobbyists. We've spent $5 trillion all over the middle. We have to rebuild our country. We have to rebuild our infrastructure. You listen to that, you're going to be there for another 15 years.
All right, Governor Bush.
They lied.
Okay.
They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass destruction.
All right.
Looked up and I saw my mom. My mom is the strongest woman I know.
She should
This
be
is
running.
not about.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Don't get nervous. Go ahead.
He was a failed candidate. He should have beaten President Obama very easy. He failed miserably, and it was an embarrassment to everybody, including the Republican Party.
We need toughness. Honestly, I think Jeb is a very nice person. He's a very nice person, but we need tough people. We need toughness. We need intelligence, and we need tough.
Go ahead,
Am I allowed to finish?
Go ahead, Mr. Trump.
So,
Little of your own
again,
medicine there.
I know you're trying to build
Bush,
up your energy,
please.
Jeb, but it's not working
one at
very
a time.
well.
Yeah.
Look. You don't have one Republican senator, and you work with them every day of your life, although you skipped a lot of time. These are minor details. But you don't have one Republican senator backing you, not one. You don't have the endorsement of one Republican senator, and you work with these people.
Senator Cruz.
You should be ashamed of yourself. Here's a man, Robin Hood. This is Robin Hood over here. He talks about corruption on his financial disclosure form. He didn't even put that he's borrowed money from Citibank and from Goldman Sachs, which is a total violation. He didn't talk about the fact that he pays almost no interest. He just left it off, and now he's going to protect the people from the big bad banks.
We're going to move.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't.
Why do you keep attacking Megyn Kelly of Fox?
Because every night on her show, she does negative hits on me. Every single night. And frankly, if she didn't, her ratings would drop down far lower than yours.
Snoop Dogg!
$505 billion. And by the way, I don't like this mic. Whoever the hell bought this mic system, don't be the son of a bitch to put it in, I'll tell you. These people. No, this mic is terrible. One of the worst Secretary of States in the history of the country. She talks about me being dangerous. She's killed hundreds of thousands of people with her stupidity. Just thirdly, he was so nice. He was such a nice guy. And he said, oh, I'm never going to attack. But then his poll numbers tanked. He's got that's why he's on the end. And he got nasty. Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it. All right. And you call him a dummy. Is that appropriate in running for president? Okay, you got to let me speak, though, Frank, because you interrupt all the time, okay? So...
This is a tough business to run for president.
I know, you're a tough guy, Jeb.
And we need to have a leader that is
real tough.
And he lunged that knife into the stomach of his friends, but lo and behold, it hit the belt. It hit the belt, and the knife broke. Give me a break. Give me a break.
Trump. I never attacked him on his look, and believe me, there's plenty of subject matter right there. And we don't need a weak person being president of the United States, okay? Because that's what we'd get if it were I'll tell you what, we don't need that. We don't need that. You know what she said? Shout it out, because I don't want to... Okay, you're not allowed to say, and I never expect to hear that from you again. She said... I never expect to hear that from you again. She said he's a pussy. That's terrible. Terrible.
A year ago, you told me on my radio show, the audio and the transcript are out there on YouTube, that you would release your tax returns. True. Are you going back on your
No, I'm not.
commitment?
First of all, very few people listen to your radio show. That's the good news. Let me just tell you. Which happens to be true. Check out the ratings. Here's a guy that buys a house for $179,000. He sells it to a lobbyist who's probably here for $380,000, and then legislation is passed. You tell me about this guy. This is what we're going to have as president. In fairness, Marco is not a negotiator. I watched him melt down, and I'll tell you, it was one of the saddest things I've ever seen. He's not going down.
On that, that's a matter of principle, and I'll tell you. You are the single biggest liar.
You probably are worse than Jeb Bush. You are the single biggest liar.
All right.
This guy lied. Let me just tell you. This guy lied about Ben Carson when he took votes away from Ben Carson in Iowa. This guy will say anything. Nasty guy. Now I know why he doesn't have one endorsement from any of his colleagues.
All right, John, I get to respond.
Pick from the buffet there.
He's a nasty guy.
Immigration. You have been very critical of Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, who has wanted to increase the number of these H-1Bs.
I was not at all critical of him.
Where did I read this and come up with this that you were...
Probably, I don't know. You people write this stuff. I don't know.
By the way, Carson is super low. I don't understand the whole deal. I don't know what's going on. Carson is lower energy than Bush.
I look at Rubio. He's a lightweight. He's a lightweight. Everyone said, oh, Rubio, he's the next Reagan. He's no Reagan. That I can tell you. I mean, my hair is better than his hair. That I can tell you. And ISIS has it. And ISIS now is building a hotel in Iraq. They're competing with me. Do you believe it?
You keep saying that Hispanics love you.
True.
And yes, you won the Hispanic vote in Nevada.
True.
But wouldn't that make you an unelectable candidate in a general election?
First of all, I don't believe anything Telemundo says.
You used to say that you love.
Number one. Number two.
Oh, if you become president, will a woman make the same as a man?
You're going to make the same if you do as good a job.
Problem was, it was to tear down. It was to
Jeb
tear
wants
down.
to be. He wants to be a tough guy. He wants to be a tough guy tonight.
It was to tear down.
Take 30 seconds. Let me just. He wants to be a tough guy. A lot of times, you'll have, and it doesn't work very well with.
How tough is it to take
times,
property from an elderly woman?
Let me talk. Quiet.
How tough is it?
A lot of times. That's all of his donors and special interests out there. Because he has failed in this campaign. It's been a total disaster. Nobody cares. And frankly, I'm the most solid person up here.
Why didn't you read that? By the way, why didn't you read that before?
I pulled it up the Wi-Fi.
No, but why didn't you read that before? You didn't read. I hate the concept
Trump,
of.
I'm reading it to you. My question
Excuse me.
Are you a trustworthy?
Excuse me, very trustworthy. More so than you. Why didn't you read my quote the way I said it?
Sir, I tried to pull it up and I didn't have Wi-Fi.
Well, then you got to get Wi-Fi, okay?
Well,
don't ask me questions like that. You're not a very good reporter doing that. Okay, go ahead.
I think Ben Carson's a very low energy person. Actually, I think Ben Carson is lower energy than Jeb, if you want to know the truth.
We won with young. We won with old. We won with highly educated. We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated. You know what's happening to Jeb's crowd, as you know, right down the street? They're sleeping. They're sleeping now. Jeb Bush is a low energy person. For him to get things done is hard. Nobody. You might say, you might talk, your politicians all talk, no action. I've been watching it all my life. You are all talk and no action. What I've seen up here, I mean, first of all, this guy's a choke artist and this guy's a liar. You have a combination. This guy always goes. You have a poor Jeb Bush. I mean, this poor guy with this low energy. It's sad. No, it's sad. I came up with that term. It became so defining. It's like having it on his forehead. I am low. Jeb Bush. Yeah, Jeb. He's another beauty. Jeb Bush the other day said, Donald Trump, you know, he's trying to talk tough now because I said he's got no energy. I call him a low energy person, so now he wants to be a tough guy. It doesn't work, but I'm the tough guy.
He says you don't have steady hands.
I have the steadiest hands. Look at those hands. Look at those hands. Look at those hands. I have the steadiest hands and far steadier than hers. Look where she...
Why do you keep attacking Megyn Kelly of Fox?
Because every night on her show, she does negative hits on me. Every single night. And frankly, if she didn't, her ratings would drop down far lower than yours. Former president Calderon said, Mexico will not pay for the wall. Could we have your comment? I said, yes. The wall just got 10 feet higher. It's true. It's true.
On the state,
I was a businessman. I got along with Clinton. I got along with everybody. Yeah. That was my job, to get along with people.
But the simple fact is...
Excuse me. 1 second.
No.
I didn't want to
get... You cannot take...
More energy tonight. I like that.
I think you're on the wrong side of this if you're still arguing for a single-payer system.
I don't think you heard me. You're having a hard time tonight.
All right,
we're going to win with every single facet. We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Jeb Bush.
Get out of here. Get out. Out, out, out. That was the meekest protester that I've ever seen. We said, get out of here, and he just, okay. And I gave him a lot of money. I raised a lot of money. I had 2 fundraisers in my apartment. In fact, one of them was such a rainy day that it ruined the carpets of my apartment. Everyone's coming in. I had hundreds of people. My carpets were ruined. I think I'm going to send him a bill for new carpet. President Obama, Secretary Kerry, I highly think you should read this book quickly. Quickly! Mexico is sending lots of people. And by the way, they're coming from all over the world, including the Middle East. Why not? Come in. Come on in. We're stupid. We'll take care of you. We'll pay. Get sick. We'll take care of your hospitalization. What kind of a plan do you want? Let's say that Jeb Bush or Hillary or one of these politicians all talk, no action, all controlled by lobbyists and special interests and donors. When they say, Mr. President, it's very bad that Ford's building in Mexico. Oh, okay. We'll do something. Let me go to sleep first. We'll do something. Jeb will be very poor as a president. No energy.
Class act. No more class than that, that's for sure. How's that sandwich? You get that in Ohio? Yeah, all right.
And you know, the Kasich thing is interesting, because here's a guy that just says, I'm going to stay. And then you see him eating in the morning. You ever see? I have never seen. He's stuffing pancakes in his mouth like this. And I'm always telling my boy, take small bites, Barrett, little tiny bites. And yesterday he said, Daddy, who is that guy on television? That's disgusting.
You know, did you see him? He has a news conference all the time when he's eating. I have never seen a human being eat in such a disgusting fashion. I'm always telling my young son, Barron, I'm saying, and I always with my kids, all of them, I'd say, children, small little bites, small. This guy takes a pancake and he's shoving it in his mouth. It's disgusting. Do you want that for your president? I don't think so. Ever see it? He's eating today, stuffing it. I never saw bites this big. He's pushing it in with his... I never saw a guy eat like this. I told my son, he was watching, he said, Daddy, look. I said, don't watch. Little bites, little bites.
Lion Tag, Lion Tag. One of the biggest liars I've ever seen in my life. But Ted Cruz, he walks in Bible high, puts it down, and he starts lying. I'll tell you what. Every single ad is a negative ad, and most of them are false. There was a little truth to some of them, I'll be honest. Bad senator. She's done nothing. She's done nothing. She said she's American. And I said, Pocahontas. It's Pocahontas. Somebody said to me in the media, Mr. Trump, would you apologize? I said, yes, I'll apologize. To Pocahontas, I will apologize. Because Pocahontas is insulted by the state.
Do you regret calling her Pocahontas? Do you regret that?
I do regret calling her Pocahontas because I think it's a tremendous insult to Pocahontas.
Right.
So to Pocahontas, I would like to apologize to you.
All right, so I don't see a lot of reaching across the aisle, but who knows?
I was being hit by Pocahontas. That's Pocahontas. Pocahontas. That's this Elizabeth Warren. I call her Goofy. She is... No, Goofy.
Warren, she seems to have made it her job.
Who, Pocahontas? Pocahontas. Well, no, she's... Look, she is...
It's very offensive.
You tell me. Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry about that. Pocahontas?
What about the negative side? He apologized for being a negative.
We're different people. I understand that. I'll give you an example. Hillary Clinton is a liar. Hillary Clinton, I was just proven last week.
That's
Hillary
negative.
Clinton, you better believe it. Hillary Clinton is a crook.
That's negative.
I call her Crooked Hillary. She's Crooked Hillary. He won't. I didn't ask him to do it, but I don't think he should do it because it's different for him.
Is it wise to be praising our adversaries and alienating our allies?
George, yeah, I know you're having a lot of fun this morning, and so am I, if you want to know the truth. The fact, those people don't turn them in. Why don't they turn them in?
Well, they should turn them in. I agree with you on that.
Well, they should turn
One
them in,
final
but they're not
question
going to
about
turn them in with attitudes like your attitude. People won't turn them in.
So Lindsey Graham says to me, please, whatever you can do. You know what I'm saying to myself, what's this guy, a beggar? He's like begging me to help him with Fox and Friends. So I say, okay, and I'll mention your name. He said, could you mention my name? I said, yes, I'll mention. And he gave me his number, and I found the card. I wrote the number down. I don't know if it's the right number. Let's try it. 202-228-0292. I don't know. Maybe it's, it's 3-4 years ago, so maybe it's an old number. 202-228-0292. So, I don't know. Give it a shot.
Donald Trump is a jerk.
Thank you.
I feel better now.
Look, his people gave him that quote. You could see he was just saying, okay, I'm ready now. I'm ready now to say it. Jeb is a weak and ineffective person. He's also a low-energy person, which I've said before, but he's a weak and ineffective person. Jeb, if he were president, it would just be more of the same. It would be just, he's got money from all of the lobbyists and all of the special interests that run him like a puppet. He's got 2% in the polls. I have 41% in the latest poll. He has 2%. He's going to be off the stage soon. He's an embarrassment to the Bush family. And in fact, he doesn't even want to use the Bush name, which is interesting. Jeb is an embarrassment to himself and to his family.
I know Hillary met my campaign manager, and I got the chance to meet the people who are working so hard to get her elected. There they are, the heads of NBC, CNN,
CBS, ABC. There's the New York Times right over there and the Washington Post. They're working overtime. Hillary is so corrupt. She got kicked off the Watergate Commission. How corrupt do you have to be to get kicked off the Watergate Commission? Pretty corrupt. We've learned so much from WikiLeaks. For example, Hillary believes that it's vital to deceive the people by having one public policy and a totally different policy in private. That's okay. I don't know who they're angry at, Hillary. You're right. For example, here she is tonight in public pretending not to hate Catholics.
Look, now she's blaming, she got caught in a total lie. Her papers went out to all her friends at the banks, Goldman Sachs and everybody else, and she said things, WikiLeaks, that just came out, and she lied. Now she's blaming the lie on the late, great Abraham Lincoln. That's one that I haven't. Okay, Honest Abe. Honest Abe never lied. That's the good thing. That's the big difference between Abraham Lincoln and you. That's a big, big difference. We're talking about some difference.
Perfectly nice. By the way, she fell off the stage the other day. Did anybody see that? And Cruz didn't do anything. Even I would have helped her, okay? No, it's true. It's the weirdest thing.
How do you see that?
Well, she has been taking a lot of heat for that statement, not from you, obviously, but, you know, they do call it the Clinton Network. But she has taken from others a lot of heat.
Little Marco. Do you know that in Florida, they hate little Marco Rubio so much? It's true.
You know, he endorsed Lion Ted Cruz. Lion Ted. He's a liar. Ooh. Bible high, puts it down, and then he lies. You know, he's a liar. I never met a liar like him. I met a lot tougher people than him, but I never met a guy that lied as much.
My message to Donald Trump and his team is your views of Islam are ignorant.
All right. Well, when he won, I wished him well. Now, I don't care about him. I mean, it doesn't make any difference to me about him. Let's see how he does. I mean, let's see if he's a good mayor.
Are you offended by what he said?
Yeah, I am, because he doesn't know me, never met me, doesn't know what I'm all about. I think they're very rude statements, and frankly, tell him I will remember those statements. They're very nasty statements.
Would you like David
When
Cameron,
it was brought up,
would you like him to withdraw the particular comments that you're stupid, divisive, and wrong with your view about Muslims?
Well, number one, I'm not stupid, okay? I can tell you that right now. Just the opposite. Number two, in terms of divisive, I don't think I'm a divisive person. I'm a unifier. Unlike our president now, I'm a unifier.
I love the media. They're so honest. They're such honorable people. It's about time I said that, right? Backed Mitt Romney. I backed him. You can see how loyal he is. He was begging for my endorsement. I could have said, Mitt, drop to your knees. He would have dropped to his knees. He was begging. Oh, here's another one. Go home to mom. Go home to mommy. And your mother is voting for Trump. She's voting for Trump. True. Oh, we have another one over here, another single. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Looks like a nice little guy, actually. Go home to mommy. Go home. Bye. Go home to mommy. Go home to mommy. Tell her to tuck you in bed. He's such a nice guy. Here's a woman. She makes a speech for 15 minutes. She goes home, goes to bed. Honestly, she has less energy than Jeb Bush. I admit it. I admit it.
And the reason I bring him up, he didn't sign the pledge, so he's open game. So he signed the pledge, right? But he didn't honor it. How do you live with yourself, you know? A guy, nobody ever heard of this guy. I shouldn't even do this because I built up his name, but he's a real lightweight. His name is Bill Kristol. From day one, this poor guy, I watch him, but here's what I don't understand. Why do you keep putting a guy on television that's been proven to be wrong for so many years? First one of the shows the other day, Bill Kristol, he's got some magazine, I don't even know what the hell it is, and he's saying, oh, we're looking for another candidate. We're looking. He's sweating. I was with Donald Trump in 1980. I was sitting with him on an airplane. And he went after me on the plane. Yeah, I'm going to go after. Believe me, she would not be my first choice, that I can tell you. You don't know. That would not be my first choice.
And, you know, I don't grab him on the, you know, as they say, on the arm. And once said he grabbed me on the arm. And she's a porn star. Now, you know, this one that came out recently, he grabbed me, and he grabbed me on the arm. Oh, I'm sure she's never been grabbed before.
Would you rather have negotiate with Iran, Trump or Jeb? How about this? Trump or Hillary? Who is Uma married to? One of the great sleazebags of our time. Anthony Weiner. Did you know that? She's married to Anthony Weiner. You know, the little bing, 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 bum, bum. I love you very much. So, now think of it. So, Uma is getting classified secrets. She's married to Anthony Weiner, who's a perv. No, he is. He is. Okay, who's next? Yeah, please. Excuse me, sit down. You weren't called. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Go ahead. No, you don't. You haven't been called. Go back to Univision.
When you look back over the sweep of this campaign, going back to last June, is there anything you regret?
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to have done certain things over, but you can't. You can't. But that's true in life. I'd love to have done in life certain things over, I guess. And you would have too.
Give me one.
You would have loved not to have contributed to the Clinton Foundation, as an example.
It's the one and only Eagle Double G. Snoop Dogg. You know what happened with the D.R.E.
When she found out that there was a security camera and that they had her on tape, all of a sudden that story changed.
No,
she
that's
didn't
not true.
talk
She
about
says her story has remained exactly the same. She was
really?
knocked a little
Can
bit
I
off.
read this to you,
Yeah, that she was knocked off balance, but she remained standing.
Do you mind if I read you her statement? I mean, give me a break. You know, the problem is everybody dumps people when there's a sign of political incorrectness. I'm just going to read, if I can find it.
She said she was almost knocked off balance, but
she said she was almost knocked off balance, right? Here's what she said. You want to read it or you want me to do it? You're a professional announcer. Why don't you read it? The bottom part. The bottom. Now, that's an exact quote from her prior to seeing the cameras, and now she says, oh, I better change my story, I guess.
Again, you know, you probably won't put this part. I have great friendships with many people who are Muslim living in this building.
People who say you're taking time out of swing states to go do this, you say.
I say the following. You have been covering me for the last long time. I did yesterday 8 stops and 3 major speeches, and I've been doing this for weeks straight. I left there for an hour and a half. I'm going to North Carolina right now, then I'm going to Florida, I'm going up to New Hampshire. For you to ask me that question is actually very insulting, because Hillary Clinton does 1 stop and then she goes home and sleeps. And yet you'll ask me that question. I think it's a very rude question, to be honest with you.
15 days out from the election, you've been labeled a racist, you've been called a sexist. How do you respond to that?
I am the least racist person you've ever met. I have the biggest bank in the world as a tenant of mine in New York. The biggest in the world, a Chinese bank. Don't worry about that baby. I love babies. So I love babies. I hear that baby crying. I like it. What a baby. What a beautiful baby. Don't worry. Don't worry. The mom's running around like, don't worry about it, you know. that's young and beautiful and healthy, and that's what we want. Okay. But look. We have the piggy bank. They have ripped us to shreds. Ripped us absolutely to shreds. Actually, I was only kidding. You can get the baby out of here. That's all right. Don't worry. I think she would believe me that I love having a baby crying while I'm speaking. That's okay. People don't understand. That's okay.
Raised $6 million. Clearly you had not. Your critics say you tend to exaggerate, you have a problem with the truth. Is this a prime example?
I'm not looking for credit, but what I don't want is when I raise millions of dollars, have people say, like this sleazy guy right over here from ABC. He's a sleaze in my book. You're a sleaze because you know the facts, and you know the facts well.
The FBI conducted a year-long investigation into my emails. They concluded there was no case. He said the FBI was rigged. He lost the Iowa caucus. He lost the Wisconsin primary. He said the Republican primary was rigged against him. Then Trump University gets sued for fraud and racketeering. He claims the court system and the federal judge is rigged against him. There was even a time when he didn't get an Emmy for his TV program 3 years in a row, and he started tweeting that the Emmys were rigged against him.
Should have gotten it.
This is a mindset.
She's going to move to candidate Donald Trump if you get elected. What's your message to her?
Well, she's a B actor, and has no mojo. No, I heard Whoopi Goldberg said that too. That would be a great thing for our country. If
we have a list of people: Rosie O'Donnell,
we'll get rid of Rosie. Oh, I love it.
Jon
now
Stewart,
I have to get elected.
Whoopi.
Now I have to get elected because I'll be doing a great service to our country. I have to. Now it's much more important. In fact, I'll immediately get off this call and start campaigning right now.
When you can't, no, that's all right. Let him be very weak. He's got a very weak voice. Very weak voice. Very weak. It's funny. Let me see. Who is that person? Let me see. Raise your hand. Who are you? Are you an agitator? Let me see. Who is it? Who is it? Are you the one? Your voice is very weak. No, he's so weak. Look, he's leaving now. Who is he? Bye. He's going home to mommy.
You keep your manufacturing here, your ties, your suits. Why would you not have them made here?
Because China so manipulates their currency that it's very hard to find companies that can do business in the United States.
You're a billionaire, though. Why would you not move it here just for having it in America?
Excuse me, because I'm a businessman. Let me just tell you something, and it's very interesting. You're not bringing up anything new. You're acting like you're the great reporter, blah, blah, blah. You're not bringing up...
Research says the crime does not match what you're saying. The research, the Pew Research, which is independent, says...
Don't be naive. You're a very naive person.
The Pew Research says that there are, for immigrants on the whole,
Come on, try getting it out. Try getting it out.
I'll get it out.
I mean, I don't know if you're going to put this on television, but you don't even know what you're talking about. Try getting it out. Go ahead. I thought when O'Malley made the statement that Black Lives Matter, he said white lives matter, all lives matter, and then he apologized like a little baby, like a disgusting little weak, pathetic baby. And I'll tell you what, I didn't think I'd say this, but I'm going to say it, and I hate to say it, but if I win, I am going to instruct my Attorney General to get a special prosecutor to look into your situation, because there has never been so many lies, so much deception.
Awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
I am not in the habit of supporting people who attack my wife and attack my father.
Hi, this is Ted Cruz calling.
And why did it morph into that? No, answer the question.
Why don't
do you still believe?
You
I
interrupt
do.
me all the time. Why don't you
Would you
interrupt her?
please? Very much. We're going to move
It's funny,
on.
she went over a minute over, and you don't stop her. When I go 1 second over, it's like
You
a
had
big deal.
many
It's
answers.
By the way, tonight when you go home and watch this on television, the only people you're going to see
Now, do we have, could somebody act out being a protester so the cameras all move on? There's a protester. There's a protester. The only time they move those cameras. Oh, look, there's a protester. Look. There's another protester. These people are the worst.
Joining me now on the telephone, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump. Mr. Trump, thanks for joining me.
I was just wondering if you have anything positive to say. Beautiful introduction, all negative, but that's okay. Go ahead.
If it comes to light that something did happen, are you going to do something about it? Will there be some sort of punishment?
Supposing it comes to light that nothing happened, are you going to apologize to him for what you're doing?
I'm not reporting anything that I saw personally. I'm reporting what Michelle Fields is reporting.
Apologize to him if it turns out that nothing happened?
I won't apologize, but I'll report that nothing happened, certainly.
Mr. Trump, what do you say? Hey, you know what gives me more pause? That a person in our government, crooked Hillary Clinton, here's what gives me more, be quiet, I know you want to, save her, that a person in our government, Katie, would delete or get rid of 33,000 emails. What's your name?
Name.
Now, he's supposed to look like Donald Trump, but he's actually much too good looking. You are really handsome. Go back. Do you want to go back to them, or do you want to stay with Donald Trump?
Trump.
One of the columnists, Rich Lowry, says that you are the most fabulous whiner in the world, and that you have shown that if you were to sit across from a Putin or from Mexico or from the Middle East leaders, that as soon as they said something you don't like, you'd become a whiner, you'd become snipey with them, and that you wouldn't get anything done. What do you say to that?
Well, I think he's probably right. I am the most fabulous whiner. I do whine because I want to win. And I'm not happy about
whiners winners?
And I am a whiner, and I'm a whiner, and I keep whining and whining until I win. And I'm going to win for the country, and I'm going to make our country great again.